Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Michigan International Speedway for tonight's AFSP charity event here from the Michigan International Speedway. My name is Frank Marchese. Ron Mons will be here in just a moment with me. We have Joshua Wilkie producing here tonight on Apex Racing TV. Thank you guys very much for joining us here this evening. We are running for a very, very special cause here this evening, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. We should have DJ Fluke here in just a moment to talk about it as we get into the qualifying session here. It's going to be a 15-minute qualifying session for these drivers before we get into a 100-lap race here tonight in the next-gen cars at the Michigan International Speedway. Just to set you guys up for this race, it will be 100 laps. Setup is fixed, so not an open set here tonight. Two faster pairs, which some of these guys it's going to be needed for some of these racers here tonight. With charity events, everybody, of course, wants to win, wants to put their best foot forward, and sometimes they end up stepping over the line just a little bit. So you have two mulligans here tonight, 4 sets of tires, and we should see about 35 laps or so before pit stops will be needed if we get a long green flag run. As Ron, I believe you are here. We have had, this is our first time broadcasting. We met just a half hour ago, and from what I understand, also one of your first times broadcasting oval racing. So welcome to the turning left side of iRacing, Ron.
It's fantastic to be here. I'll tell you what, I still have my rookie stripes on me right now. The only ever oval broadcast I've ever done my time here on Apex Racing TV was USF 2000s at USA International Speedway, the small little short track. So I think in terms of oval racing, this is probably as far apart as you can get from an event like that. But I'll tell you, I put my head to the grindstone. I tried to get a lot of practice in with this combination. I did plenty of AI races, did plenty of practice laps on my own, and I can tell you this is a fantastic combination. And I think we're in for a pretty good race with a lot of little intricacies that we'll definitely be touching on between now and the start of this race. So there's a lot to cover here, and a lot to cover as well when it comes to the charity. I think we'll be bringing in someone here in a few moments' time to talk about the charity, the amount of money that's raised so far. Looking at taking a quick look at the Tiltify link right now, we've raised well over $1,000 already, so it's fantastic to see sim racers as a whole just unite to raise money for a good cause. And we'll also be giving away some stuff as well, which we'll be touching on in a few moments time. But still, really looking forward to this, and really looking forward to getting my rookie stripes off with Oval Racing Broadcasting.
I believe we do have DJ Fluke in here with us now, and we'll be bringing him in just a moment. But again, as you mentioned, the charity that we're going to be running for here tonight. The immediate aftermath of a loved one's suicide is a challenging, confusing, and painful time. The AFSP is here to help get you through the first few days with a better understanding of the things that you are likely to face. You are not alone. Suicide affects millions of people every single year, and thanks to their donations and volunteers, many of whom are lost survivors themselves, they can provide the resources to help you heal. Each spring, AFSP chapter hosts State Capitol Day events to bring advocates and state officials together to talk about how to prevent suicide and increase access to mental health care. For more information and to locate the dates for your local state, visit www.afsp.org. And again, we bring in DJ Fluke here. DJ, thank you so much for coming on board and sponsoring this race here tonight. A wonderful charity that I'm sure you'll let us know more about.
Yeah, it's, suicide unfortunately has impacted too many of us, from family and friends, and there's several people in this race that are veterans that have lost brothers that they served with, and the AFSP does great work through education and workplace training and providing resources for people who are struggling. And in the last 30 years or so, from when I was a kid, the narrative on mental health has changed, and there's a lot of work that needs to go on, but organizations like the AFSP and the people tonight, we've already pushed $1,000 in donations already, which is incredible. We're really excited to put this event on, so thank you, and just remember, you are not alone. There's always someone there who can help you.
So again, it's afsp.org to get in touch with your local chapter. Are there any other links, phone numbers that you would be able to give out here for someone who might need the help?
The 988 text line is available, or the 988 line is available, but check out afsp.org. There's different specialized numbers. There's a specialized section for veterans. Check that out. They have a huge list of resources and specialized numbers that, if you want to get and help out with your local chapter in your state or your county, or if you need help yourself, check that out.
Well, DJ, thank you very much. I'm sure you got a qualifying effort to go out and go for tonight. Good luck in the race, and thank you again so much for putting this on and bringing awareness.
And thank you. It's been a pleasure working with WJM and Extreme Sim Racing, and I'll be back at the end of the race to give away a grand prize.
Yes, we do have that, and again, we'll talk more about the grand prizes a little bit later on, but DJ, again, thank you so much. And so now, Ron, that brings us to the business of qualifying, as we see David Duke on track right now. Is top time so far a 39:46. So these guys are certainly moving, as Roger Pierce, who was the second fastest car in the practice session, finding himself second fastest now here in qualifying.
Yeah, right now all these drivers are setting in very competitive lap times. You can see the 15 drivers that set a lap time so far, only separated by about 0.7 of a second. So a very close field, all things considered. It's something you come to expect on ovals, and that might be my road course background kind of showing where I'm used to fields separated by seconds rather than 0.1 of a second. But right now, a fairly close field, but this track is driving a little bit tricky right now. I was hearing some discussion before this race started and before we start up this broadcast here that the track conditions are going to be really important. We'll touch on that a lot throughout this broadcast and definitely throughout this qualifying session. The track is really slick, very hot. I think the track temperature is currently about 120 degrees in sim. So in sim time is very important. Obviously, this is being held at about 9 p.m. Eastern, but in sim it's about 2 o'clock. So here at 2 o'clock in the sim, you can see the track temperatures there on the left-hand side of your screen with these SDK graphics. Sorry, that's the right-hand side of your screen. You can tell, as always, great with directions, but the track temperature is really high at this moment. The track is incredibly slippery. So I think when it comes time for this qualifying session where these drivers are trying to set in the best times they can, and when it comes time for the race, I'm sure a lot of these drivers are going to be trying to find the grip and just try and figure out all the different kinds of lines they can run to get the most out of their cars here tonight.
saw a 51-degree track temperature there. I believe that's what, about 121 in freedom units, I believe is how is that track temperature, as we see
Very
Nolan
hot.
Gross working on his final lap of qualifying. Did a 39.67 his last time around, and this time I believe actually he might have been done with his qualifying effort there. Let's go to DJ Fluke, as a matter of fact, working on his second lap, currently running in the 19th spot. I was marveling pre-race, Ron. I mean, I've used SDK for quite some time. I've used it for the last couple of years. Never once did I know or think to try to put the driver's stream down on the name bar there. I was marveling at that during the practice session. It's amazing what this program can do.
It is a very amazing program, one of the proud partners here of Apex Racing TV, but I think it's a little bit marveling for me as well in my time broadcasting with here on Apex Racing TV. I haven't seen any of the other streams. The only really broadcast I can think of that's had the other drivers' perspectives being streamed with the webcams there, I think is the Rickmatech, the Extreme Scoring Road Racing Series, whether it be the World Challenge or whether it be the Touring Car Cup. I know the other webcams appear on those broadcasts. I think with Extreme Scoring help, it's nice to have these drivers' perspectives as well. So it's very nice to see not only their body language with how they're driving on track, but also their body language behind the wheel in the sim. So it's really nice to see that little bit of a perspective, which may give us a little bit of a hint when it comes time for the race, whether these drivers are feeling a little bit frustrated with how their cars are driving or whether they're feeling frustrated with their competitors. It's a nice little asset that we have here tonight.
Absolutely. You just saw Nolan Gross there going through 3 and 4 last time around, really fighting that car, trying to get as many practice laps in as he possibly can before the race. Eric Richardson currently on track, car number 13, 20th fastest last time around at a 40.24. So we'll see if he can get a little bit faster this time around. He is on the pace to pick up his time. Bill Mulfield and Alex Healy on track as well. They are completing their first laps, and right there again, big slide, nose first into the outside wall. Eric Richardson, that's going to be something we're going to be seeing these drivers fighting all day.
The grip is going to be it's going to be a total struggle. We said just a few moments ago how slick the track is, how hot the temperatures are. We're going to see plenty of drivers definitely losing it, going for spins, but I think we're also going to see a lot of drivers just scraping the wall on the outside. We were talking before this broadcast started about the idea of drivers running whatever lines they want to. We're really expecting these drivers to run in the middle of the track. We may see some drivers, maybe a few stragglers towards the end of this race, try and run up towards the wall there, run the rim as they call it, and try and rubber in that top line. But definitely at the start of this race, that top line is basically going to be dang near unusable. So I think really it's going to be a little bit of a strategy, certainly with the pit stops as well, which we will be contending with multiple pit stops all throughout this race. But just the strategy on trying to figure out where to run on track is going to be very important. We're trying to keep that car on the road and keep it up towards the front as well.
Alex Healy lays down a flyer, a 39.57. Goes 5th quickest on his second qualifying lap. Sean McGaney, the only driver that has yet to set a qualifying time, and he does have plenty of opportunity to do that. Still 3 minutes left here in this qualifying session. Still no one has been able to touch David Farmer at a 39.41, so a very good time for car number 21. Nolan Gross still running around the track, taking some practice laps. But Ron, it's going to be an interesting race here tonight. It's a big racetrack, not quite as big as Daytona or Talladega, but still a very big racetrack. Going to be running Daytona and Talladega speeds here, and we're going to be running just about that close. It's going to be a very hot and slippery racetrack here tonight as well. If you were behind the wheel of one of these cars, what would be your biggest concern, or what would be the one thing you'd be focusing on the most coming into what is going to be a long night here at Michigan?
I mean, honestly, to be honest with you, Frank, I think there's a lot of things that would be on my mind. Maybe I'm just a little bit of an overthinker, but I think there's plenty of things that can wreck your race if you try and get it wrong. Certainly the restarts and definitely lap 1 is going to be really vital. It being closer towards the afternoon on lap 1, it'll be about 2:15 in sim when this race is going to start. So for these drivers, it's going to be really hot, probably the hottest it will be at the race at the very start with not a whole lot of rubber on the racetrack. So I think the start is going to be really important. I'd try and keep my eyes on these drivers that's trying to slide around and gain a lot of positions while the field is still bunched up, but also trying to keep it out of the barriers on lap 1 is going to be very vital. As I said, the pit stops are going to be important as well. These drivers, I've seen a whole bunch of numbers thrown at it as to how long they can run on a single tank of gas. I've seen some estimates around at lap 47 is when they have to pit, but if it is on lap 47, we're going to see at least 1 pit stop, maybe even 2 throughout this race. And if you speed, this little bit of my road course experience not being used to not having a pit limiter. So I think if it were me behind the wheel, I'd really want to focus on those pit stops because you can definitely make or break your race with the time penalty that you may get by speeding. So I think there's a lot of things that these drivers have to keep in mind to try and have a good race. It's really just, you don't have to be great all throughout the race. You don't have to have a great lap 1. You don't have to have a great pit stop. But what you have to have is no mistakes. You have to keep it clean, keep it out of the barriers, and keep yourself out of that danger zone of sliding, as we see a nice drift there from Gross heading through the final corner. But there's just a lot of opportunities for these drivers to really wreak havoc on their race. So it's really just attention to detail that I'll play with these drivers tonight.
With 25 seconds left, Sean McGaney will not get his qualifying effort in. So 23 of the 24 entrants will set a time in qualifying. McGaney will start at the back of the field. Again, if you're just joining us, welcome in to tonight's broadcast. My name is Frank Marchese. Ron, I had it before. Please, I'm sorry. Mons, that's what it was. Ron Mons.
It's okay, don't worry.
In the broadcast booth, Joshua Wilkie is our producer here this evening. 100 laps here tonight at Michigan, 2 fast repairs, fixed setups, 4 sets of tires that these cars will have. But now as we jump over into the race session, let's take a look at the starting grid here for tonight's race. David Farmer will line up as the pole sitter, a 39.413 for him. Tony Brent will line up next to him on the front row. Roger Pierce and David Duke will make up row number 2 with Alex Healy and Colton Gardner sitting in row 3. Dalton Randolph and Zach Lovelace will make up row number 4 with Jesse Fox and Justin Ackerman rounding out the top 10 in row number 5. Ed Morris Jr. and Nolan Gross in row 6. Kyle Steinbacher and Charles Abert in row 7. Mike Vicars and Benjamin Neller in row 8. Row 9, we'll see Fernando Takahashi and Brian McKinney, DJ Fluke and Bill Mulfield in row 10. Corey Buskirk and Eric Richardson in row 11 with Ambrose Niebel and Sean McGaney rounding out the field here in this 24-man race. Quick look once again at the weather conditions here for tonight's race. We are, I believe, just past 2:30 p.m. in sim time here. That'd be 1:30 in sim time. A 3-kilometer-per-hour wind blowing north, 26-degree ambient temperature, 52-degree track temperature here tonight, 43% humidity as the cars are now rolling off, getting set to go here tonight. Again, Ron, 52-degree track temperature. These guys are going to be slipping and sliding all race.
I have never felt better about it being in the middle of January, middle of winter here in the Northeast. I've never felt better about being about 42 degrees out right now. 52 degrees Celsius, about 120 Fahrenheit. All these drivers, if they're in these cars, that would be just like a form of medieval torture. It's going to be medieval torture with these tires running in very slick, very hot conditions on a track that's basically an asphalt cheese grater. So I think, oh man, there's so much left to stake with this race. Of course, we're racing for a good cause, so it doesn't really matter who wins, but all these drivers want to have bragging rights to win this this race. So that we're going to see some hard racing here. I think we're in for a really good show. So wherever you're watching this here across the world here on Apex Racing TV, or wherever you may be watching this stream from, you're in for a real barn burner here over the next few hours, because it is going to be tense.
Absolutely. And again, a lot of great sponsors. We'll be handing out prizes towards the end of the night. We'll get to all of those as this race rolls on. But right now, we are getting set to go racing here from the Michigan International Speedway into the Geico restart zone. They go. David Farmers leads them down. Green flag is in the air. We are racing for 100 laps here in Brookwood, Michigan.
Well, look at that break there at the bottom line. The drivers that were at the front four of that bottom line had a great start. The drivers further behind had a terrible one. You can see that massive gap there before they enter turn one. That's a massive slide there. Oh, he managed to catch it there. That's Pierce with a massive snap going onto that back straightaway. He's going to drop back like a rock through the field, but he's lucky to keep that out of the barriers.
Yeah, Roger Pierce catching that lower line, and we discussed it before the race. There is a little bit of progressive banking here at Michigan. That yellow line all the way up to the first seam is a little bit flatter than the rest of the corner. If you get on that a little bit awkwardly, just in the way Pierce did to open up this race, it is going to send you for a ride. But right now, David Farmer out to 3/4 of a second lead as we look back at Alex Healy from Tony Brent's number 28 Ford.
Draft is going to be so important in a race like this. We were talking about before the start. We mentioned how it's a little bit like in terms of the speed that we usually see at a track like Daytona or Talladega, with a lot more corners and a lot more handling being very important with these race cars. As you can see, a big snap there from the driver exiting the final corner, going onto the start-finish straightaway. But the draft is really important. You can gain about 10 miles an hour just being in the draft. So even though we compared it to it's a mix really of the drafting tracks and the intermediate tracks. It is basically an intermediate track by nature, but still that draft is going to be really important, especially when trying to size up a move. But you can see your leader is really broken up, as you can see a massive pack here of cars right behind him.
It's David Duke in the 78 on the outside line, being pushed by Roger Pierce, as the 28 of Tony Brent slotting in behind. 3 wide, but as you mentioned, there's draft is going to be key here, and if you could break out of that, which David Farmer has done, that is going to be absolutely massive. He's already out to a 2.5-second lead. If you're a Formula One fan from the early 2010s, that would be David Farmer has already Sebastian Vettel'd the field.
Nowadays, I guess the term would be Max Verstappen in the field right now. That is a massive gap, especially in the world of oval racing. But what he's doing for himself right now is he's driving in clean air. And I think that clean air is going to play a massive role. Of course, dirty air is kind of like the NASCAR equivalent of boogeyman, really. It's not a good term that any NASCAR fan likes to hear. But at a track like this, where, as we mentioned, the tire wear is going to be incredibly important in deciding who breaks away and wins tonight, I think Farmer is putting himself in a very good spot, having that massive gap, being in the clean air, and being able to save up his stuff. I think he'll be able to lean back on the pace a little bit, not put too much wear on his tires, and maybe even start saving fuel. He has a pretty large gap now, a pretty comfortable gap, and I think he is in a real good catbird seat right now.
Heading on board with Roger Pierce, taking a look back at David Duke as the battle for second, at least for the moment, has simmered down. At the moment, we have 14 cars up here in this second group, as Jesse Fox is at the tail end of this initial draft, as the 97 and 31 there battling side by side. Ackerman, there's Jesse Fox at the back of this line, currently running in the 15th position. He's got about a 0.6 of a second gap up to Bill Mulfield, who is just behind. So while the top 15 appear to be racing, everyone else really spreading out, trying to save as much fuel. As we see how intense and honestly how comfortable Nolan Gross looks down there in the bottom left-hand corner.
When you can see there on the outside, I believe that's Takahashi trying to run very close. I think it was probably about 2 car widths, you could say, between himself and the barrier there, but I think he's starting to flirt with that outside line a little bit, trying to rubber it in a little bit. I think these drivers are starting to flirt with that a little bit. I think there's a driver running a little bit farther up there. Yeah, you can see these drivers are fanning at now. They're trying to rubber in that top line. We were saying that really the top line is there's a track like this, as you mentioned, progressive banking, there's just so many different lines that you can run and make your car work on, that really the top line, a lot of drivers preferred running the rim, as you may call it, or just running the middle line, or maybe running a little bit more close to the bottom. You can see Fernando Takahashi in the span of about one lap he's running a little bit closer to the barrier, then he's running closer to that yellow line at the bottom of the track towards the apron there. So it's really a nice little unique flair with these cars and with these drivers, where they're just assigned to run on whatever line they choose. It's really good stuff here, and a little bit of that strategic racing that we mentioned earlier.
Absolutely. The 26 of Dalton Randolph on the outside of the 28. That's a battle to stay in the top 5, as Dalton Randolph currently sitting in that 4th spot as Fernando Takahashi continues to move up through the field. He's already plus 11 spots from where he started, above the wiggling number 48 of Zach Lovelace. As you'll notice for Lovelace, at least from what I could tell, the update from iRacing earlier this week did put the new 2024 Ford Mustang and Toyota Camrys into the sim. As contact there between the 28 of the 78, pardon me, and the 26. Both of those guys able to keep it straight. But 78 of David Duke really losing out, falling back to 12th.
That was a massive moment there going on to the back straightaway. Probably the biggest moment that we've seen thus far. They're very lucky that they managed to keep it at the barriers. We might have to take a look at a replay to see when the world calls that. I think it was just a little bit of contact and just drifting up there. The difference in line and difference of strategy coming through this first banked corner might have been the reason why that accident nearly happened, and that massive moment for the two of them did occur there. But right now, very hard racing there. You can see Don Randolph is trying to find any way in the book that he can get past a car ahead of him, but I think he's at risk of losing a position there to Ed Morris running right behind him.
No stranger, at least in my broadcast world with sim racing media, of seeing Ed Morris, one of the playoff drivers on the Tuesday night oval side for the Extreme Racing Series presented by Rick Motek. He's already up 4 spots, up into the 7th position, looking to grab another one, and does, from Dalton Randolph. So at least for me, nice to see a very familiar face in here, as Morris looking to get up into that top 5. Still not much side-by-side racing, but a lot of close racing here up at the front. Not missing anything as far as the race for the lead goes. David Farmer still checked out, 2.3 seconds clear of the rest of the field.
I think what a lot of these drivers are realizing at this point is that they really have to work together as a team to try and close up that gap, but you can still see a little bit of side-by-side action here with Morris on the inside. These drivers really have to work together and band together if they want to find any way in the book to catch up. They're still at the early stages of this race, but you can see them. That was a little bit of wall riding action there. I'm not sure who that was in the other red car there. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that is, I'll take a look at my live time screen.
I think that's the 00 of Neller in that red car outside the 7.
I believe that is correct. So him running the barrier already, you can see him getting very close there. A little bit of wall riding farther behind. You can see there, that was a driver running into the barrier, scraping the wall there, losing a lot of time. I'm not sure who that was, but still these drivers are really getting a little bit flirtatious with that top line a little bit earlier than we were expecting. I was expecting really in the second half of this race is when we're going to see drivers trying rubber in that top line, but you can see them already migrating up towards the top. It's a fine line that you have to run there to try and get the most out of your car and try not to hit the barrier there. Ooh, you can see a big snap there, exiting, going on to the back straightaway. But right now, I think all these drivers are running a little bit single file, just realizing, hey, we're still in the very early stages of this race. I believe right now, yeah, we're on lap 13 of 100 so far into this race. So these drivers are just thinking, hey, we need to keep it clean, keep it up towards the front, and just keep our cars out of each other if we don't have any hope of being up towards the front by lap 100.
You know, a lot of 3 wide action as we jump on board here with Ed Morris, who's on the inside of 3 wide right now with the 00 just to his outside. Fernando Takahashi continuing to try to move his way forward. Roger Pierce and Zach Lovelace going at it. No contact between the 00 and the 7. Still everybody able to keep it straight. More close racing here at Michigan, drawing contact.
That was a massive snap there. I could see the puff of smoke as the two made contact. That was a big snap there from Morris. I think he definitely, actually I say that for oval racing, that's not really the hugest moment in the world. I was going to joke that he may need clean pants. If I was in this race and I had a moment like that, I would definitely be peeing myself, because that is a massive moment in my road racing perspective. But that's still very quick hands to save that thing, because that was a very big moment. Wheel-to-wheel not car-to-car contact, you can say, not wheel-to-wheel contact. It was still fairly close stuff, fairly tense stuff there, and they're going 3 wide heading into 3.
Made more contact, did the 7 and the 0-0. That forces Neller all the way back on the inside line, now on the apron, as Takahashi had a run of momentum and took it right to the bottom of both the 0-0 and the 7, as Neller forced from that contact coming into pit road.
Yeah, that's a very early strategy call. I doubt very highly he would have picked up some kind of penalty or some kind of meatball flag to drag him into the pit. So I think a very early strategy call from him. An interesting call, to say the very least, because I don't think he's going to be in the draft. I think he may go a lap down just by being in the pits for that long. But a very early strategy call from the driver of the 0-0 to come in pretty early. What do you think of that strategy call there, Frank?
Yeah, at this point, he's still going to need to come in 2 more times. It's not... I was told, at least by our notes that were provided for us, it's going to be about 35 laps. So if this race goes green, 35-70, so you still need to make 2. As here comes Neller out of the pit lane. See him there on the bottom as we take a look at third place runner Roger Pierce, as Dalton Randolph has gotten out ahead of him and is starting to pull a little bit away. But yeah, it's, unless he did it to try to, try to give himself some space, that certainly hasn't worked, because he's right back where he was.
Yeah, he is still in this hornet's nest right outside the top 5 here. You can see going 3 wide, going through the tri-oval. You can see Fernando Takahashi really stuck in the middle there. It was checked up a little bit heading into 1. He'll still be 3 wide, but I think Neller with a very interesting strategy call. I will say, I will concede the point that it says 35 laps about on the on a full tank of gas. You can see a massive snap there from Pierce farther up the road, but I think maybe our notes are a little bit deceiving us, because I think, oh man, it's really tough to say. I mean, if he's thinking like, hey, I can stretch my fuel out a little bit just being in the draft, then he decides to make that pit stop. It's very strange, and we'll have to see how his race develops. Probably by the halfway mark of this race, we'll see what position he's running in compared to everyone else once everyone makes their first series of pit stops. But it's a very interesting call there from Neller. It looks like he's not taking it easy, as he's still trying to claw his way through the field, going 3 wide right now up towards the front of this pack. But it's been a very terrible turn of events for Roger Pierce, as I've been running my mouth talking about Neller's strategy. He's now down 6 from where he started. Very tough turn of things for him.
And there's Pierce again. He's worked his way, or that was the 78, pardon me, that had to work his way back up. But still, David Duke, after that contact earlier on, he has gotten himself back up in the fight, trying to battle himself back into the top 5. And that point for Neller there, as he gets out in front of this group, he's on fresh tires, so he can get out, he can run, he can stretch his legs a little bit and have an advantage over the rest of the field. Speaking of what you could do to give yourself a little bit of an advantage, why don't you go to Extreme Sim Racing? Extreme Sim Racing has donated an exciting giveaway, easy for me to say, with the AX80 cockpit frame. This black aluminum frame with carbon steel plates is designed for sim racers seeking a high performance and robust chassis that can handle the demands of competitive sim racing. Be sure to visit their website at extremesimracing.com. You can also donate to the AFSP by capturing the QR code on screen, and with your minimum $20 donation, you'll be entered to win one of the exciting prizes this evening. That is right, both the drivers and the viewers will get prizes here tonight. Boy, if my dyslexia will let me get through one copy read tonight, I would be very, very happy.
I'm 98% sure I have dyslexia myself, hence why my confusion at the start of this broadcast with my left and my right, so I can definitely relate to that on a spiritual level with some of the sponsor reads I've had to do with some of the other broadcasts here on Apex Racing TV, including the Ray Esports series. If you want to catch that, you can tune here on Tuesdays, around about the same time on Tuesday nights at about 9 o'clock here on Apex Racing TV. But speaking of the action here, you can see Fernando Takahashi, we're riding on board with him, looking from his rear bumper. He's now up 13 positions from where he started, one of the fastest drivers on track right now. I'll take a look at my live timing stream, but I believe he has one of the fastest laps of the race currently, so he's a force to be reckoned with right now. His fast lap is actually a tenth of a second quicker than David Farmer running up towards the front, so Takahashi right now, although his pace has dropped off a little bit, he is still a man on a mission leading this pack right now, running in P4.
Ambrose Niebel, has brought it down pit road, so he has come down to make his stop on lap 22. There he is in the alive and running, the 04 Chevrolet. As by the way, you mentioned David Farmer. Thought that he would have been burning his tires off a little bit by getting out to that early lead. Yeah, no, he's still growing that lead. He just did a lap 40.77. Compare that to second place Dalton Randolph, a 40.92, still a tenth and a half faster, growing out a 5.2 second race lead here on lap 23 of this run.
I wonder at this point if he has to take it easy. I mean, knowing our luck, we probably just jinxed it, but I will say you can see the 00 there. I think he definitely had to take new tires there. Maybe with some of the slides there and big moments that he had, that might have been the reason why he took some tires, just felt they were a little bit too worn out there. But right now, he's putting on a pretty good showing right now, just overtook the leader of the race, of course, a lap down now, currently running in P23, but I gotta wonder if that strategy is going to put him back in that fight, a very early call to come down pit road, so he might be trying to play the long game here and having some longer stints towards the end of this race. There's still a lot to play for here. We're still in the very early stages of this race here. 100 laps of this race, and we're only 24 in, so we're not even a quarter of the way through this race right now, and David Farmer has really staked his claim on this show right now. You can see that gap is massive. Just a giant gap between himself and this massive pack of cars right behind him. This is
leaning, spinning. Contact. Around goes the 78. That is David Duke into the grass, was leaning on the 23. Caution is out, first time here today.
And that gap from Farmer is gone.
That's the fun part about having a lead. Sometimes you lose it instantly. Is 78 and 26. Get into it, coming out of turn 4 and spinning down off the outside. Ed Morris had nowhere to go, ended up pushing the 78 around. But now, while it does erase that 5.2 second lead for David Farmer, it does relieve these drivers from needing to come down and pit under green. So now more controlled chaos down pit road here.
I was just going to mention that right before you said it, that we may see pit stops during this yellow. I mean, we are pretty much in the pit window now at this point. Probably by the time the pits are going to be open, it'll probably be around the lap 28, lap 29 mark, maybe even lap 30. So I think these drivers will definitely be in the right window if they want to pit. Will it be the smart call, though? Would it be best to kind of stay out? I think we may see some drivers just gamble, stay out, and hope for another caution to ensue shortly after this. I think the smart man decision would probably be coming in, but I may see the appeal of pitting a little bit later. What do you think you would do, Frank?
I think at this point, you just did 25 laps on these set of tires, all green. You had about 10 laps to go, roughly, until the stage. I think not the stage, until the pit stops. I think you'd be a madman not to come down and pit right now, and that is exactly what everybody is doing as car number 21 leads us down onto pit road. Everybody coming down pit road. Good news for Benjamin Neller. He does stay out. He got his lap back the good old-fashioned way, so Benjamin Neller will be the race leader. Ambrose Niebel, if we're taking lucky dogs here tonight, will get that lucky dog, so all 24 drivers will be back on the lead lap.
I don't know why. I just have a. Maybe it might be a little bit of a premonition, you could say, but I have a feeling that we may see a little bit of chaos on this restart. We're already a quarter of the way into this race. I think maybe we'll see. I mean, I'm sure we're going to see a lot of 3 wide, 4 wide, maybe even some 5 wide action here if these drivers are feeling particularly dicey. But I think in terms of like car-to-car contact, I think we're going to see a lot more in the first 2 laps after this restart than we've seen throughout pretty much this entire race thus far. I think these drivers are feeling a little bit racy, and I think it may come to blows here on this restart in a few moments' time.
Especially with a car on 12-lap older tires leading the way at a track that is known for spinning the tires on old tire restarts. Yeah, I would say that's a pretty safe bet, as there is Benjamin Neller getting out in front. First time David Farmer will not be leading the race here this evening. While we have a moment, let's get through a couple more of our sponsors here tonight. FR Racing, home of the Wednesday Night Dash. Be sure to visit their website at frracingonline.com, and on social media you can find them at frracingonline on Twitter there. Also, Mulfield Motorsports, WJ Mulfield Motorsports excels in esports, elevating sponsors through engaging content and audience targeting for brands. Be sure to visit their website at wjmmotorsports.com. Also, Extreme Motorsports, providing league owners with one program that manages their entire season, from flexible scoring options to an integrated league paints installer, as well as the latest edition that includes a sophisticated race control. Be sure to visit their website at apps.extremescoring.com. And of course, where would we be tonight without iRacing, providing the simulator platform for tonight's event. If you enjoy racing and have never had the opportunity to be behind the wheel, when budget is a factor, capture the experience of auto racing by joining iRacing.com today. Be sure to visit their website at www.iracing.com. Why can I read 4 ad reads better than 1?
I do not know. I think it's a miracle that we will not question, but I do have a question for you real quick, Frank, before we get this restart.
Yes.
Would you compare the fall that we may see from your leader here on this restart? Would you compare it to a falling rock, a falling Led Zeppelin, or a falling anvil? We're about to get here soon.
I think it's going to be a little bit closer to an anvil as Benjamin Neller gets into the Geico restart zone. Green flag is back in the air. A very good start from Neller. I'm surprised as we get set rolling off into turn number 1. That will leave David Farmer in the dirty air, as you mentioned earlier, for the first time all day.
This is going to be interesting to see how Neller positions his car right now. Not the best of runs coming out into the back straightaway, but it's still a decent enough run whereby I don't think Farmer is going to size up a move on just yet. We'll see his run coming through this next corner here. What line is he going to choose? Running a little bit farther up the track right now. You can see Farmer cutting there a little bit closer to the inside line there. You can see him closing up a lot there coming out of the corner, but Neller running the top, had a bit of an exit there, running the high line there. So I think he's going to lead that lap under green. A very surprising thing. I was expecting him to drop back like a rock after my little bit of a smart aleck remark right before the restart, but I think that tire fall off has come. You can see him drifting up the track, and now there's the opportunity that Farmer has to retake the lead.
I've learned through about 4 years of doing this, there's no such thing as a smart aleck remark, just a driver that's willing to disprove whatever you're saying. As David Farmer looks to the inside, he'll get all the way down to the bottom. He will take that race lead. Alex Healy now working to try to get into that second position. And for Neller, if he could stay in the draft, he might have a shot at staying up here. He does have to come in about 10 laps sooner than everybody else if it does stay green. But if he could stay up at the front or up near the front, that'll be a game 1 for him. Ooh, contact between the 7 and 28.
I was just going to say that. I saw them beating and banging doors, exiting the corner. That could have ended in an absolute heartbreak there for Brent. I saw a little bit of kick-out action there after that contact, but they all managed to keep it clean right now. This is a massive pack, and now, right now, as, I mean, unlike the other racing that we were having before that caution came out, where we had a breakaway up towards the front, we don't really have that right now. We do have a two-car peloton forming right now. You can see the front two are leading a little bit over Neller. That gap has increased a little bit going down that start-finish straightaway, but has then decreased again heading into turn one. But you can see those two cars running P1 and P2 right now are starting to break away, and you can see even more contact there with Brent.
The 28 and the 7 again coming to blows, coming out of turn number 2. It's Ed Morris on the outside, Tony Brent, who we're watching on the bottom. And yeah, I think Alex Healy is not about to make the same mistake that the rest of the field made at the opening of this race. He is sticking to David Farmer like glue, not letting that number 21 get away.
Yeah, right now it's kind of like a dog sniffing another dog's butt right now. These drivers are running extremely close, and I think even though they aren't really teammates, they have to work together as a team and try and extend their gap a little bit. Right now, the driver leading this race, Farmer, has been very comfortable up towards that front. He has ran there pretty much throughout a vast majority of this race, so he's very comfortable having his car right there. And I think Healy is appreciating the drama-free life compared to what we were seeing from him earlier, just being caught up in all the hoopla right behind him that's still carrying on. I think there's a little bit more contact there going down the back straightaway last time by, but I think Healy is really happy about the position he's running in, up 3 spots from where he started in this race. But you can see now that actually there's a third car joining that pack now, as you can see some action here with Loveless, and some 3 wide action here. This is going to be tight heading into 3.
7 of Ed Morris and Fernando Takahashi in the number 23 down there on the bottom. Neller on the outside, not falling nearly as fast as we both anticipated that he would. Ed Morris gets clear of Takahashi. And now still 3 wide is Morris. As around the outside goes Kyle Steinbacher, car number 16.
As much as we haven't seen the incident to bring out another yellow that I was expecting on this restart, I think my prediction of this restart being a little bit more hectic than what we've seen so far throughout this race, I think is definitely ringing true. You got some 3 wide action heading through 2. I think they've made contact exiting, going onto that back straightaway probably every single lap so far after this restart. And you got some more side-by-side action here with Morse and Steinbacher heading into turn 3 and 4 here. So I think that prediction I made there, these drivers starting to feel a little bit more racy, is definitely ringing true. This is a stint that can make or break your race. In the middle of this race, on the second round of tires, these drivers are going to definitely start pushing their cars. They're feeling more in the comfort zone. I believe the track temperature might be cooling off a little bit as we head later on into the day in sim. So I think these drivers are starting to feel a little bit more confident in their race cars and a lot more confident in their grip.
Brent Loveless, Zach Loveless, pardon me, has gotten out away from the rest of the battle. However, Kyle Steinbacher on that outside line now goes to the bottom here, takes over that 4th spot and brings the 48 right back into the fight. Steinbacher getting loose, coming off of turn 4, saw this in qualifying, broadsides the wall. Fortunately doesn't hit anybody. I believe that was the 78 that took to the grass to avoid. Caution is out.
Well, that caution that I was expecting has finally come, and I wonder, speaking of, that was going to be a terrible transition if I decide to go with that. I gotta wonder I gotta wonder if we're going to see the 000 of Neller come into the pits during this yellow. I think it would be the perfect opportunity, as we're looking at a replay, to see Steinbacher. It's just a massive slap into the wall. Very lucky to not hit any more cars, but that's a very damaged race car. Thankfully for his sake, he does have a fast repair at his hands, so he will be able to repair that car. So I think it's not the end of the game for him. Certainly a very disappointing way for his race to turn. He was running in a very good top 10 position and will now be running outside the top 20. But I gotta imagine Neller is going to pit this time by. Do you think he's going to play the safe game and pit now, or do you think he's going to try and stretch that tire even more?
I would think he's going to pit here. He's running in 11th position right now. Is that 000 of Neller? Is, I believe, they're down the back straightaway, so we should be finding out here soon as we see Kyle Steinbacher rolling down into pit road. Again, would like to thank all of you for joining us here tonight on Apex Racing TV, the 2024 AFSP charity event for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. It's been a wonderful night of racing here thus far. Just the second caution of this race, and a lot of money donated to the AFSP. I believe you'd said we had $1,000 already donated, and that was before the green flag even flew, before this stream even went on air. Ron, how much, what are we at right now as far as the donations is concerned?
Right now, looking at the bottom of the screen on the ticker here on these Apex broadcasts, you can see right now the total raised so far is $1,175 of the $2,500 goal, and I believe that doesn't include all the other money raised from drivers entering this race. I believe the driver entry donations have added to that summary quite a lot. It's not included in the graphic that we have here on this Apex broadcast, but still a lot of money raised for a very good cause, and all the drivers that all the drivers and the fans and whoever has donated into this, as we see Neller going down pit road now, all these drivers and everyone that's donated has a chance to win one of the giveaways. And as we said, the big giveaway is that Extreme Sim Racing rig. Will actually be announcing the winner of that giveaway at the end of this broadcast, but we still have a bunch of other stuff to give away. There's a t-shirt and a hat that'll be given away by Keep Digging. We have another a cash prize by another company, some more cash prizes as well, and of course Extreme Sim Racing. This is a little bit of a I saw this and kind of got my juices flowing because I'm more of an IndyCar guy myself, and I saw this at the bottom. Extreme Sim Racing is giving away an IndyCar Hy-V 2023 Iowa Race diecast, so that'll be a diecast of Christian Lundgaard's number 45 Ray Hall-Lerman Lanigan racing car that he raced at the Iowa doubleheader this past weekend during the NTT Data IndyCar Series season. That'll be 3 1/64 scale cars and 1 1/18 scale cars. So you get 4 diecast cars. If you win that, that's valued at about $30. I think that's a little bit of a underestimate. I think that's a lot more, especially if those cars are new. So that is a very good giveaway. Some very tempting stuff that you may be able to win at a later date. Those will be announced at a later date, those giveaways, but there's a lot of stuff that you can win if you go into your wallet a little bit and donate to a very good cause, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. We've talked about it a lot, providing a very good cause and helping people at very dark moments of their life. It's a wonderful service that they provide, and it's great seeing humanity really at its purest form, in society nowadays. People like to say, oh, humanity has been lost, but it's people and it's the companies and charities that really breathe life and breathe a little bit of hope, you could say, into humanity. And the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention is definitely one of those that puts a smile on their face, puts a smile on my face about all the wonderful stuff they do.
Could not have said it any better myself. And again, for those giveaways, you can donate to the AFSP by capturing the QR code that you see on screen. With your minimum $20 donation, you'll be entered to win one of those exciting prizes this evening. That is right, both the drivers and the viewers have a chance to win here tonight. So stay tuned. The prizes will be given away at the end of the broadcast. And thank you all very much. There's a lot going on this Saturday night. The Rolex 24 began this afternoon. You have A2 for Supercross is in Anaheim tonight. The WWE Royal Rumble is on tonight. So we thank you very much for sticking it out here and joining us on iRacing for this wonderful charity event. As Ron, we get set to go back to Green Flag Racing.
Ooh, there's going to be it's going to be a drag race, but you can see Farmer winning it already, extending a massive gap there. He got a fantastic jump there over his rivals and is already pulling into the lead heading into 1.
So Farmer getting clear. Alex Healy also getting clear, as does the 28 of Tony Brent. Side by side between Roger Pierce and Zach Lovelace, who we ride on board with now. Ed Morris slotting in just behind him. Now, unfortunately for Zach Lovelace, we do not have one of his stream cams up for tonight. I wonder if he's got the horsey mask on while he's streaming. That would go quite well, I'm sure.
I think that may obstruct his vision, honestly, and with the amount of hard racing he's been in so far tonight, I don't think he wants to have any less vision that he already has. Right now, he's getting a fantastic vision of Ed Morris's car there, heading into one. He's going to try and go for a move here, try and size up, maybe go 3 wide, going down the back straightaway. He's certainly looking at it. You can see him drifting up there, back into the back of Morris. Right now, you can see all these drivers scrambling, trying to pick up the draft of their competitors. We mentioned throughout this broadcast, and we'll say it again, we'll beat this horse until the end of this broadcast. The draft is so incredibly important, regardless of what car you're running in and what part of the track you're running in. So I think we're going to see a lot of these drivers scramble to be in that draft going down these long straightaways, which are so important at a track like this.
Well, the horse is currently running in 6, so we got 5 people beating the horse right now. But we saw it down the back straightaway. That 21 of David Farmer doing a little bit of an Indy snake down the back straightaway, trying to break that draft back to Roger Pierce as we see side-by-side racing for the 3rd position. Doing it again. Indy snaking down that back straightaway as Ed Morris jumps up into 4th ahead of Tony Brent.
Some hard stuff right now, but I have a feeling we can see a lot of drivers trying to run that top line. That will play a massive role in this stint as these drivers try and wear in that top line. But right now, I'm going to try and keep my eyes on the 00 there of Neller. He was relegated quite farther towards the back. I believe he was exiting in P22 when he rejoined this race under yellow after taking his pit stop. I'm not sure he's currently running in P18 right now, so he's making his way up through the field. Might try and gain some even more positions here, going down the back straightaway. That's a driver I'm keeping my eyes on right now, see how he can perform with those new tires, because he really needs to stake his claim if he wants to try and reclaim that top 5 spot that he was once in. Right now, he really needs to push hard, gain a lot of spots. I think he needs to be firmly in the top 10 by the next series of pit stops if he has any hope of trying to salvage a good result out of this race.
And he had come down pit road during that caution, so he went from a 12-lap tire disadvantage in that 00 to a 12-lap tire advantage. So we'll be keeping an eye on Benjamin Neller here as he works his way up through the field. One driver that did work his way up through the field quite significantly was the number 23 of Fernando Takahashi. Got as high as 3rd position, now slotted into the 7th position. But boy, he's got a fight on his hands, not just with that wheel as the 26 goes sliding. Dalton Randolph somehow makes the save.
I was very worried when I saw that car touch the grass just a little bit there on the inside coming through the tri-oval. I was fully expecting the 3rd caution of this race to come out just a little short of the halfway mark, but he managed to keep it on the road, which I can respect. But speaking of the halfway mark, we are coming up to it here as we're getting a replay to see that massive snap there for Randolph. You can see him rejoin the track there. He got his doors blown off there by the driver that overtook him heading into 1 there. They just slowed him up so massively there. But getting back on topic and talking about the halfway mark, we are towards the halfway mark now. We are coming up on that halfway mark soon. We're about to start lap 48 right now. Randolph is starting lap 48, so we're already halfway through this race, and I think the driver to contend for and keep our eyes on is Farmer. He's really staked his claim on this race. But of all the drivers in the field right now, who do you think has the highest chance of really fighting Farmer and taking the win from him, Frank?
I really haven't seen anyone that's been able to. Roger Pierce, Alex Healy have been the 2 closest, and right now they're battling with each other for that 2nd position, and once again allowing David Farmer to get away as Alex Healy getting back up into that 2nd position. Ed Morris in car number 7 trying to work his way up into 3rd, that final podium position here tonight. And looking through the chat here, I'm seeing Stephen Tucker as far as the paint schemes are concerned. What you're seeing is by design, unfortunately, as we work our way through. Currently working lap, what the heck lap are we on? We're on lap 48. Just about halfway through as Morris continues to slide backwards now, trying to stay in the top 5.
I think I'll elaborate on the point there of the paint scheme situation. It is very unfortunate because a lot of these drivers have very beautiful paint schemes and very touching tributes on their cars. Unfortunately, due to copyright issues, we can't really risk having a company's logo. Unfortunately, it's a policy here on Apex Racing TV, and we have our hands tied behind our backs, really to follow that, but unfortunately we can't run the paint schemes, but it's still creating some beautiful racing right now. We're seeing these drivers claw for position, really tussling their way around the track, and we're seeing some of these drivers start to run that top line and really start to rubber it in. I think the closest we've had drivers to that top line, you can see them running the seam there. That was a number 31 there coming through the final corners there, running that top line, trying to rubber that in. I think these drivers are feeling a little bit more brave and a lot more bold right now as this race is developing. We're now past the halfway mark of this race, so I think we're going to see drivers get very, very flirtatious with that barrier. But we can see them a little bit of a four-pack of cars there running about a car width from the barrier. That's really the closest you dare try and run it to the barrier. That's very close there at a track like this. You can't really develop the same cushion that you do at a track like Homestead, shall we say. So I think these drivers are running a fine line and a very dangerous game if they want to run it up towards the barriers. You can see there it's been, I believe that's Pierce there, that was very close there to hitting the barrier and actually rubbing his car there along the barrier coming through turn 4. So these drivers getting very flirtatious, sometimes overly flirtatious with that outside barrier.
Dalton Randolph, I believe, in that 26 was actually in the outside wall through 3 and 4 that last time around. There he is, car number 26, now battling with Mark Vickers in that number 84. And we had mentioned before, a little bit earlier on, I wasn't able to finish the point because we had a caution come out as the 23 and getting very close, 4 wide through 3 and 4. They make it through. But the point I was going to make was that earlier this week, there was the iRacing update that brought in the 2024 cars, the 2024 Ford Mustang and the 2024 Toyota Camry. Also, another thing that we're seeing tonight, you're seeing a lot of drivers run the bottom and then start to get up to the top. That was one of the big things in this season update. iRacing has gone through a complete oval racing overhaul. Lines are going to heat up as the race goes on. You're going to need to try to find the grip. As they said, you are going to have to hunt for grip as the 84 gets into the wall in the back. So that's why you're seeing these drivers trying high line, low line, wherever they could go to try to make up some speed, is because the track is forcing them to do it.
Honestly, Frank, I think I would compare it more to a gold rush. I think these drivers are just looking at what everyone else is doing, trying to figure out what streams work and trying to find the gold, and they're just following them along there. And it's really, it depends on the driver's preferences, how they want to drive. From my experience driving this combination, if you're running closer to the bottom, you're probably going to get a little bit more slip and a bit more oversteer. You're going to be loose coming through the corners. If you're running in the middle line there, you're going to be in really the sweet spot, as I like to prefer. A little bit of a slip, so you do have to saw at that wheel a little bit, but you're still going through there without any major moments. And meanwhile, if you're running up towards the top of that very dirty line at a very greasy track like this, you are getting a lot, and I mean a lot of understeer. You're getting very tight, especially midway through the corner. So it really just depends on what these drivers want at their race cars. Do they want a neutral handling car? Do they want that that's a little bit loose, or do they want their car to push a little bit? It really depends on what the drivers want. That'll change their real strategy about what they want to do here in tonight's race.
About as close as you're going to get to seeing the new nose of the 2024 Ford Mustang, as Tony Brent right up on the back of David Duke, who we were riding on board with. As up front, a battle for second is brewing between Alex Healy and Ed Morris. Now, Healy had brought that gap to David Farmer down from about 0.8 of a second, closed it to about 0.3, and now that Ed Morris is starting to put some pressure on Healy, it's growing back out to 0.7 of a second as those two run side by side for the second position.
This is hard stuff heading into this corner. It's going to be a battle of the drivers who try and push it the most. You can see Morris there pushing really hard into the corner. He's going to lift a little bit there. Healy is going to have a great run here, going onto the tri-oval and heading onto the start-finish straightaway. He's going to try and go for a move here, heading into the inside here. But as these two start to battle, you can see Farmer starting to pull away a little bit. Farmer actually helped Healy there in trying to clear him. He pulled down to the bottom to try and give Healy just a little bit of slipstream help there, but you can see it didn't really help him too much as he couldn't clear him heading into one. But these drivers are still going side by side. side. They've been going side by side for the better part of a whole lap here, but even though I said that it was actually allowing Farmer to pull away, you can see that gap is fairly close, much closer than it was during the first stint. That is for darn sure right now, but you can see they're still going side by side, coming through turns 3 and 4. There's some awesome stuff between these two.
I'm going to say, you wouldn't believe it if I told you, but David Farmer last time around did a 40.67, Healy 40.59, Ed Morris 40.58. Even with a full lap side by side, they were still faster than the race leader. And again, the same. Farmer a 40.74, Healy a 40.66, Morris a 40.75. Just as fast, if not faster than the leader, battling for second.
Yeah, this is some hard stuff right now, and they're still battling hard. I think they really need to cut this battling, because I think with them battling hard, they are certainly not slowing each other up, but they will be slowing they will be slowing themselves up in proxy, because they will be wearing those tires and wearing a little bit of the bumper there. You can see some bump drafting here going down the start-finish straightaway. This is hard stuff here, and I think Farmer, he's feeling a little bit risky as we enter the second half of this race. Well, we're already in the second half of this race now. I think Farmer maybe... I don't know, it's a race of comers and goers, you could say, and I think Farmer may be on his way out here. I think if these drivers start to clear up their stuff and try not to battle as hard as they have been, I think a driver like Ed Morris could try and retake the lead and really see our first change of position outside strategy, and really see Farmer be dethroned in this race for the first time in quite some time.
Seen Ed Morris be able to move forward throughout this race, so we know that 7 is strong. The 97 of Healy has been really the only one that's been able to keep up with David Farmer. We saw with David Duke and Tony Brent and Roger Pierce in second position. Those 3 were falling away, but not the 7 and not the 97. So those guys really seem to have the pace. I think as we come down to about 40 to go here, pardon me, we should have 40 to go when we get to the line. These 3 are really the ones with the best shot to win, and pit stops are going to be coming around the corner quite soon. This top 10 right now came into pit on lap 27. The only driver that is not in this situation is Benjamin Neller, who came in on lap 39. He's worked his way up to 10th right now.
I think that dream scenario for Neller, what he really has to hope for at this point, currently running a P9, still trying to claw up some positions here right towards the tail end of the top 10. What he really needs to hope for is all the drivers farther up the road. Ooh, we can see a massive snap there farther down the track. Thankfully, he managed to keep it out of the barriers. But getting back on the subject and talking about Neller, up 6 positions from where he started running in P10. A pretty good recovery drive from him after the unusual strategy call that he decided to make very early on in this race. But I think what he wants to happen here is for the drivers in front of him running on that fairly popular strategy to have to pit under green, and for him to be able to come into the pits under yellow. That would be the dream scenario for him. And I think if he gets up towards the front, I think he may turn that 3-car battle for that win. I think he may be able to turn that into a 4-car fight, because I think he has a very fast race car under him right now, even in dirty air.
Certainly could, as he gets past Justin Ackerman in car number 31. Trying to put the fight to Zach Lovelace. Last time around, we saw that car get loose coming out of turn 2. That was Dalton Randolph, as contact between the 00 and the 48. And while we were watching this battle, Colton Gardner, car number 40, came down pit road and was serviced. So he is down and away. The only car 1 lap down. There he is in that Ford Mustang, car number 40. Just off a very interesting battle. I'm not sure who was in that fight. It certainly looked fun, though.
I think there's fun battles all throughout this field. 4 wide, 3 wide, 2 wide. There's just all these drivers are racing each other so hard. It doesn't matter whether we're in the first half, second half, first quarter, or final quarter of this race. All these drivers are just giving it 110%, as has Fernando Takahashi up 10 positions and now trying to battle hard with Nolan Gross heading into 1.
2 drivers with webcams here tonight. Takahashi and Gross going into 1 and 2 side by side. Gross has the advantage, at least for the moment. I'd like to go back and take a look at that battle. I believe that's around the 69 car of Jesse Fox, currently running in the 16th position. Corey Buskirk in that group as well. Brian McKinney, Bill Mulfield battling in that 16th, 17th, 18th position. As we're going to take a look at a few replays here. There's Jesse Fox in car number 69 right up against that outside wall. Yeah, that was the battle that we were looking at earlier on. As we're going to let this run here. That's Charles Albert in the middle of that 3 wide. Right up against that wall. And to your point from earlier, Ron, getting as close as you can to that wall. Boy, the 13 of Richardson also having quite a moment down there at the bottom as we go back to live racing.
Oh man, it's all these drivers. It goes back to the point of
all
all
around
giving
the back.
110%. Oh no.
Zach Lovelace into the wall. Broken right front suspension on that Ford Mustang. And Ron, before you spoke of beating the horse, unfortunately, exactly what's happened.
Yeah, he just got beat, and sadly for him, he will have to take one of those faster pairs. We're looking at the replay, and you can see 3 cars involved in that fight, including Neller, I believe, was the other one in the middle of that. So I think that's going to throw a big wrench in the works for him. I think with the damage you got, yes, that is Neller. I was a little bit, yeah, it's just, I think 2 drivers trying to fight for the same space on the track on corner exit there, and it sadly ends in tears for 3 drivers as well. You can see another car picking up a little piece of that, but I think that throws a massive wrench in the works in terms of strategy. I think we were expecting pit stops to come probably around the, I guess it would probably be around the lap 70 mark. Yeah, any second now would probably be when they'd be coming into the pits. So I think this time by under yellow, these drivers are going to be coming into the pits. That incident will be a little bit of a dream scenario, less pressure for these drivers heading into the pits, but I think it's a nightmare scenario for Neller. If that damage he picked up on the rear end is affecting the handling of that race car, he's going to have to pit too, and really all that hoopla he had of being on different strategy is going to get thrown out the window if he has to pit here.
Absolutely. And again, I would have to think the 00 of Neller would be coming in to fix whatever damage he had. Also, the 26 of Dalton Randolph was involved in that as well. They are down in the 12th and 13th positions. But right now, here come the rest of the fields. And again, this is their first pit stop since lap 27. So these guys are going to be very happy to get fuel and tires on their cars as Farmer leading the way down pit road, taking a look at the front of Ed Morris's Extreme Scoring number 7. And
hopefully
into
nobody
the box
picks
they
up.
all go.
Hopefully nobody picks up any speeding penalties. I think everyone has been good boys thus far. I'm taking a look. No penalties, no black flags thus far. It's really a matter of if you can get out here, get a good run, exiting the pits, and try and get out with a lead. You can see that's a very quick stop from a lot of those drivers, and you can see there's been a change of lead. I think there might have been an interesting strategy call to take 2 tires there. Actually, I was going to say I think it was Pierce, but it wasn't Pierce. I'm not sure who that was that managed to get out in front of Farmer there, but I think some split strategies here for the final stint of this race.
Ed Morris, who got out ahead of David Farmer, a 14.85 second pit stop, 43.87 seconds from cone to cone, fastest all the way for car number 7. David Farmer in second. Fastest pit stop would go to the man who currently sits in third. That would be David Duke at a 13.67. So a very good pit stop time for him. Currently working lap number 68 here tonight for the 2024 AFSP charity event, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Frank Marchese here on the call with Ron Mons, with Joshua Wilkes, pardon me. Wilkie. There it is. I was flipped between 3 different Discord channels there. I apologize. Joshua Wilkie is our producer here this evening. Thank you guys, both of you, for one, joining me here tonight, and two, for allowing me to be here. I'm not usually here with Apex Racing TV. It's been an incredibly fun experience, not just watching this race and getting a chance to call it, but also to call it with you guys. I've had an absolute blast tonight. Thank you all for letting me join the team for a night.
I'll tell you what, it's been a blast getting to know you. I know we only spoke for the first time about an hour and a half ago, or so, actually a little bit more than that at this point, hour 45, shall we say. But it's been a blast working with you so far, and I think we'll cap this off. I don't think that'll be the last yellow, though. I think we're going to see a little bit more chaos as this race enters its final stages. We're going to be restarting on lap 70 here, so we're not going to have too long left in this race. So I think some of these drivers may be pushing the envelope here. We might see some of these drivers starting to send it a little bit more, racing each other a little bit harder. And I think there's still so much left to be decided in this race in the final 31 laps.
Yeah, we may not know each other for all that long, but we did enough talking to know that we hate each other, with you being from Philadelphia and me being from Long Island. I would assume a Phillies fan, and with me being a Mets fan, we have issues that we'll discuss after the race. But
joke's on you. I only watch racing and curling, so there you go. That's my way out of it.
Okay, so fair enough. All right, you're still from Philadelphia, though. Green flag is out with Ed Morris leading the way in car number 7, the number 21 of David Farmer. Not getting a good start on that outside line, as Tony Brent is going to fill in that gap down on the bottom.
A surprisingly clean start. I was expecting some of these drivers to start beating and banging and roughing each other up a little bit, kind of a NASCAR short track, but at a track 4 times the size, I was expecting a little bit of that, but we haven't seen it thus far. I will say there's still a lot to go, so I'm sure we might see, coming by on lap 2, we might see some of these drivers start side banging each other and beating each other up. I think we may see, I say that, I think all these drivers will try and race each other as clean as they will to a cost. I'm sure I think there's a little bit of contact back in the field, but I gotta wonder if Farmer is going to try and force the issue here on Morris. We were mentioning how Morris could be in a good shot to win this thing if Farmer's pace has truly dropped off, but you can see now Farmer's trying to get the move done around the outside, going down the back straightaway.
Big wiggle there out of Roger Pierce, brought some tire smoke out of the number 76, as here goes David Farmer around the outside. He will jump into the middle lane and he will get clear of Ed Morris. I believe an incident in the back. Ambrose Niebel into some trouble, as well as DJ Fluke. Caution is out with those two cars involved. There's car number 88 of Fluke. And there is Ambrose Niebel. Niebel getting loose coming off of 2 and then just never got it collected before the 88 came through.
Yeah, it was desperation there, Niebel. I can imagine if we rode on board with him, looking at the cockpit view, you could probably just see him sawing at the wheel, desperately sawing at the wheel, trying to keep that thing on the road. Thank you, Josh, for this very quick replay. You can see him swaying back and forth, trying to keep it out of other cars, but just, it's so unfortunate. Obviously, no intent involved in that whatsoever. He obviously didn't mean to hit another car. I think that's pretty much a given, but still very unfortunate there. Thankfully, I believe both of those drivers will pick up the fast repairs. If some of these drivers get involved in 2 or more accidents, they will have to, they will run out of those fast repairs, though, so they will be stuck on the pits for quite a long time. Thankfully, DJ Fluck has had a very good race so far, very clean. He hasn't been running up towards the front, but he's kept it very clean, running farther towards the back, and he's managed not to lean on those fast repairs too much, but he will be coming in to pick one of those up this time by.
Make it 3. Heard some feedback there, sorry. Make it 3 live streams that we got for drivers tonight, and for Ambrose Niebel, I'm sure it's 4 tires, fuel, a little bit of damage repair, and possibly a new Speedo after that. As working our way around lap number 73 here at the moment, there is Sean McGaney in car number 22. Did not qualify here, as there's Bill Mulfield, owner and operator of WJM Motorsports for him, and WJM Motorsports being one of the sponsors here tonight for this race. WJ Mulfield Motorsports excels in esports, elevating sponsors through engaging content and audience targeting for brands. Be sure to visit wjmmotorsports.com. Also would like to thank FR Racing, the home of the Wednesday Night Dash. Be sure to visit their website, frracingonline.com. And on social media, you can find them on Twitter at frracingonline. Also, Extreme Scoring, which is partnered with car number 7 of Ed Morris, providing league owners with one program that manages their entire season, from flexible scoring options to an integrated league paints installer, as well as the latest addition that includes a sophisticated race control. Be sure to visit their website at app.extremescoring.com. And also, where would we be without the most important piece of equipment here for this race tonight? iRacing, providing the simulator platform for tonight's event. If you enjoy racing and have never had an opportunity to be behind the wheel, and when budget is a factor, capture the experience of auto racing by joining iRacing today. Be sure to visit the website iracing.com as well. Extreme Sim Racing has donated an exciting giveaway with the AX80 cockpit frame. This black aluminum frame with steel carbon plates is designed for sim racers seeking high performance with robust chassis that will and can handle the demands of competitive racing. Be sure to visit their website, extremesimracing.com. And I believe the winner of this race, or pardon me, a grand prize winner here at the end of this broadcast tonight. If you haven't clicked on the QR code on screen already, you don't have a chance to win this piece of kit. $600 value on this grand prize. You're certainly going to want to get your hands on it. I don't have one, but I'm sure it's absolutely amazing.
Just the specs about it all, I'm sure, is fantastic. But here we have some fantastic racing here. I think there's going to be a very good restart and going to be a drag race as well for the front row starters.
Absolutely. Green flag back in the air. Car number 21, David Farmer, Ed Morris, left on that outside line. Here comes Roger Pierce. Down on the bottom line, Tony Brent and Alex Healy fighting closely in tow with Nolan Gross at P6.
Very hard stuff. I was going, a little bit of action farther behind. I think there might have been a wreck there. That was a very quick series of events there. I think right now we are remaining green. We'll see if we have any sort of yellow called here in a few moments' time. Now I think they managed to keep it out of the barriers. Thankfully for us, that was going to be a very quick series of events. If we had a caution come out that quickly, they managed to keep it out of the barriers. So respect to them. But getting back to the talking point that I was going to bring up towards the front, I was going to say that it was going to be a drag race between Farmer and Morris to see which one of them has the restart. Really, whoever can master this restart and master these 5 laps is going to be the one that I'm going to be keeping my eyes on. And right now, it is Pierce, who is starting right behind them and is now trying to go for a move here on Farmer, heading into turns 3 and 4. We're going to see he's going to be on the inside here. We're going to see he's going to be running the lower middle line here. 21's going to be in the middle as well. They're going side by side, coming through turns 3 and 4 here, going onto that start-finish straightaway. Farmer's going to have a fantastic run here, running around the outside, heading down the start-finish straightaway and into this first corner. So I think Pierce needs to take a look and see what other kind of opportunities he may have. But he can see now Morris is claiming that position. You can see now he's clawing up to the back of Pierce. So I think after a very bad restart, I was surprised that Morris had as bad of a restart as he did. He's now clawing his way up through the field, a little bit of bump drafting, going down the back straightaway. But I'm still keeping my eyes on Morris. I think he has a very fast race car. But right now, our confidence that we had in Farmer at the first half of this race is really waning. I don't really have him penned as my favorite to win this in the final stages of this race.
Looking at David Duke right now, running in P11, just set the fastest lap of the race at a 39.58. So car number 78 really moving, and I'm sure that Toyota Camry of Mark Vickers behind in the number 84 certainly helping out, as that is a battle just outside the top 10. Final car in the top 10 position is the number 31 of Justin Ackerman. He is a very keen onlooker on this battle for 8th position between Nolan Gross and Fernando Takahashi. That's Gross on the outside, Takahashi on the bottom, and just in front of them, Alex Healy, who we had pinned as possibly one of the drivers that can win this race just a couple of laps ago, has Dalton Randolph to the inside of him as we have 22 laps to go.
This race is really a true affair of comers and goers. You mentioned there how we were thinking that Healy could be in a good shot of winning this. Now he's stuck in a massive fight here. You can see Fernando Takahashi making contact with that car, and around he goes, and that is going to be another yellow. I'm not sure who that was spinning through the infield. You can see that there. It's Nolan Gross there in the number 02. He's managed to keep it going, and the yellow is not out here, so we'll see. Be very careful here on the rejoin. Try not to collect anyone with that massive speed difference. We're going to take a look at a replay. That was a massive moment there, but thankfully for us, it's not another yellow.
Yeah, for Nolan Gross, spun off the racetrack far enough away from the racing line, so no big deal. No caution. So as we stay green, Nolan Gross, what was that, a 360 pirouette and then back out, battling with Fernando Takahashi as he now works his way, or tries to work his way back forward from the 22nd position. Ambrose Niebel is on pit road, has been trying to repair that 04 for the better part of 2 minutes now. Sean McGaney is the last car out on track. Everyone who's currently circulating this racetrack is on the lead lap at the moment. Right now, Roger Pierce is showing some gusto that we have not seen from him all race long. He is right on the back of David Farmer, not letting him go the way he did on the initial start of this race. There's the next trio of Tony Brent, Ed Morris, and Zach Lovelace as Morris looks to the inside on Tony Brent.
All of these drivers are really shifting now, and I think the fact that the track is rubbering in as much as it has, and the fact the track has cooled off as much as it has, is leading to some of the fastest laps that we've seen ever since the very beginning of this race. Last time by, David Farmer and Roger Pierce were pretty much equal on time there at a 39.8 for the both of them there. So all these drivers, that's fairly close, about 0.4 of a second off of their best laps in the race thus far. So I think all these drivers are setting in some of the fastest laps they have in quite some time. This racetrack has had new life breathed into it. So I think if this is a heads-up fight between now and the checkered flag, and we run the final 20-ish laps of this race under green, I think it's going to be a real dogfight between David Farmer and Roger Pierce to see who has a better car in the long run. History would teach us that David Farmer is going to be the man to beat in the long run, but there's still been a lot that's changed between then and now, and I think one thing that has changed with Farmer has been his pace. His pace has gone down like a cliff, but that could be just a signal of how bad his car is in the short run. So it's really a matter of if we have another yellow, how many yellows we may have if we do have some more, and if this race stays green, who's going to be the best in the long run. There's still a lot to play for between now and the finish.
Now, Ron, one of the series that I broadcast with my normal group, Sim Racing Media, they have a league that it never seems to fail, that once a race, somebody crashes and ends up from like 15th position and somehow ends up restarting right after that crash from the top 5. I don't know how you gain 10 positions by crashing. I would really want to know. I've crashed enough. I think I would have figured it out by now. Zach Lovelace has done exactly that. The horse was around backwards 7 laps ago, damaged with a broken right front suspension. He's running in 4th right now. How do you crash and end up better for it?
I think this may go back to a very old sim racing tale. It was in the early days of the NASCAR iRacing series here on the sim, and there was a driver, I think it was a race at Las Vegas, and they hit the wall and like damaged their car and glitched in a weird way whereby they're going about a second faster than everyone else. So maybe there's like that reincarnated here with Morris. The horse was being many moons ago, but he managed to pick up that fast repair and has breathed new life into that race car. I think he's in a very good shot of grabbing, well, obviously in a very good shot of grabbing a top 5. He's resting currently in P4, but I gotta wonder if these two come to blows, he may be within a good shot to win this, because I think these two drivers are going to be at battle quite hard. You can see a driver spinning off farther on the road. That may be a caution.
Yeah, that was a car way in the back there that almost hit the inside wall down the back straightaway. But what we're watching right now, Roger Pierce, we were just riding on back of him, looking back at David Farmer. That's significant. That is the first time in the 85 laps that we've run here tonight that David Farmer has been passed on track for the race lead. So Roger Pierce showing the pace in that number 67. Now Farmer wants to get it back.
It is not over, going side by side here, heading into 3 and 4. I think Pierce is going to be stuck on the outside. He's going to try and maximize his run coming onto the start finish straight away, but he manages to clear him, Farmer does. So we'll see if we have any sort of bump drafting action, or we may see Pierce try and size up a move, maybe on the outside, maybe on the inside. We'll see if he tries to go for it heading into 1 here. Now I think he's going to tuck in behind 4 now, try and size up his stuff and really save up his stuff. These drivers are in the closing stages of this race right now. We are on lap 87 of 100 here, so I think these drivers might be trying to save up their stuff just a little bit for last lap assault, but you can see a little bit of contact there between Pierce and Farmer going on to the back straightaway there, and now Pierce is going to try and clear him heading into turns 3 and 4 here. A battle between cars number 21 and car 76. You can see Pierce sliding his way through the corner. A little bit of bumping there coming through the corner. I am shocked that Pierce managed to hold on to that, but he hasn't hold on to P1 for very long.
We are right on the fringe of whether or not these cars can make it if this race stays green. The last time the cars came down to pit was lap 67, 20 laps ago. We've expected the fuel range to be about 35 laps. So we are going to be very, very close, and we're going to be very, very deep into the fuel run and the tire stint. And speaking of these two battling, it's all good and fun and entertaining, but what it's also done is it's brought that trio of Brent, Lovelace, and Morris right into the fight. What was a 2-car duel for the race lead coming to 12 to go is now a 5-car battle for the race win.
This is a train right now. It's a little bit of a mismatch train. As you can see, we might see some 3-wide action here. Definitely some side-by-side action here with Brent and Pierce going down the not the start finish straightaway, the back straightaway here. We've got 2x2 here between P2 and P5 here. This is very close stuff here. You can see Morris making a big lunge there. Oh, you can see him nearly trying to go side by side there with Pierce as Brent has managed to regain that position. You can see a little bit of contact. I think that was some very sideways kick out action there with Morris. May have a little bit of contact there exiting corner number 4, but this is very hard stuff right now. I think all this battling has put Tony Brent in a very good position right now. I gotta imagine he has a very fast race car right behind him, where you can see last lap he set a 40.2, so that's a pretty good lap time, and we might see a move here heading into turns 3 and 4. There's some hard stuff here. He's gonna try and go for it. Very, very close there to the back of Farmer. You can see Farmer had to check up a little bit, lift midway corner. He had a little bit of got a little bit tight midway through the corner, and now Brent has managed to get the move done. They're going side by side heading to the start finish straight away, and you can see now Brent may be able to clear him heading into 1, or they may still continue to go side by side.
Last time around, Tony Brent did a 40.29. The next fastest lap of any of the cars in the top 5 was a 39.5, a 40.5. That was from Ed Morris, who was in 5th. Brent this time by a 40.35. David Farmer, there we go, a 40.69. So Brent has saved something in that car. The draft is certainly not hurting him, but he has saved some tire, he has saved some pace in car number 28, as Lovelace, Pierce, and Morris seem content to beat whatever pace they had left out of each other as they run side by side through 1 and 2, less than 10 to go.
And we've been talking about how this race may divulge between now and the checkered flag if it stays green, but I gotta wonder if we have another restart to contend with, who's going to be the driver that we keep our eyes on. I think Pierce is mine. He's been showing a lot of pace in the short runs, not a whole lot of pace in the long runs, as he now may lose another position and drop back down to P5 with a move here that Morris is trying to size up there. You can see him dropping back now. He may be able to clear him heading into 1, but Pierce is dropping back like a rock as now Brent is at the lead of this race. I think think Brent has a much better long run car, so I think he is crossing his fingers, hoping that this race runs green between now and the checkered flag. We're approaching the final 10 laps of this race. We're now on lap 93, so we don't have much long between now and the finish. So I think if we do have a very late race restart, that'll definitely throw a massive wrench in the works here.
Indy Snake has made its way up to the Irish Hills of Michigan as Tony Brent trying to break that draft from David Farmer. Again, inside of 10 laps to go. We will mention that if needed, there will be 2 green light checkered attempts here in this race as Zach Lovelace has broken away from that trio of himself, Morris, and Pierce. Lovelace starting to catch back up to the top 2, trying to take this win in the final salvo of the race.
That is going to be a very shock result if after hitting the wall not very long ago, he manages to recover and get a podium here. I think he's in a very good shot of catching up to these two. If we see some battling here between Brent and Farmer, he may be able to catch them up and rough those two up to try and battle for the win, but he can also see some lap traffic farther up the road. I don't think it'll play a massive role into this race, but I think that lap traffic will be close enough to provide just a tiny bit of slipstream for the cars in this fight. So I think even though that lap car is probably about 3 seconds farther up the road compared to these 3, I think it will still play a very minor role, but a role indeed in this finish.
Absolutely. Slower cars are starting to make their way in front into view of the top 3 as Zach Lovelace starting to look towards that inside line on David Farmer. This is the most competitive racing that David Farmer has had to do all race long. Tony Brent and Zach Lovelace trying to work their way and pinch that 21 into a position he does not want to be in. Ed Morris starting to close the gap as Roger Pierce has fallen well off the pace. It is going to be a 4-car quartet for the final 5 laps.
I honestly have a feeling that it might be more of a 3-car quartet, because as much as he's running in P2 right now, I do not have any sort of confidence at all in Farmer being able to reclaim that first position. You can see now Lovelace is still trying to rough him up. Going side by side, he might have a great run here going on to that start-finish straightaway, but I think Farmer is just stalling out pace-wise. I don't think he's at a good position at all to try and finish well, or at least, I mean, he's finishing well. I mean, he's running in P2 right now, but I don't think he's in a good position to win this. I think it's very much advantage Brett right now.
I think it has to be 4 to be a quartet. I believe it's 2 is a pair, 3 is a trio, 4 is a quartet. I may be wrong, but I always thought that was the way. It went. As we jump on board here with Zach Lovelace, still battling side by side with Farmer, and boy, they got close. And Ed Morris is going to get close to him as well. Here comes Morris down to the bottom as Lovelace is going to go from 2nd to 4th. And I'm sure it's not hurting the feelings of Tony Brent to see those 3 guys battling side by side behind.
Oh, not at all. He is seeing this, and he is loving it with every fiber in his being. He is hoping that these two stay side by side between now and the checkered flag. We're on lap 98, so we're going to be 2 to go this time by, and then they're going to take the white flag, and when the white flag comes out, the race will be official regardless of what happens on that last lap. Tony Brent is really feeling himself right now, but he's also feeling a little bit of pressure here from the encroaching Morris. I think Morris, he was running at the tail end of this fight, but I think he's saved up his stuff for an end of the race assault here. They're going to be taking the 2 to go this time by, but you can also see some lap traffic involved farther up the road. I believe that's Ambrose Keeble there, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, you can see him there currently running in P24. He'll thankfully get out of the way, do a little bit of wall rubbing just to get out of the way. Very good for him to stay out of that fight, but as that's been going on, he gets a little bit of a drift. Oh,
sorry,
no.
Niebel goes around in the back. It's going to be well off the racing line, so we're going to stay green. So Niebel trying to do the friendly gentleman thing ends up spinning himself.
I was a little bit expecting that, but thankfully he's kept it off the road. They're going to be taking the white flag this time by, so the race is going to be official. And to start this final lap, it's going to be a 4-dog fight right now. Brent is at the front, but I can imagine but by the time they come back to take the checkered flag, it's going to be totally different. We might see fisticuffs break out. We might see some drivers roughing each other up, but we're also seeing some hard racing, and I think we're going to see a photo finish here.
Absolutely are, as That's David Farmer on the outside. Tony Brent trying to break that draft, swaying from left to right, down the back straightaway. Brent drives it hard going into turn number 3. Farmer is going to look for the run, but it does not appear to be enough. David Farmer will make one last-ditch effort to go down to the bottom, but it'll be Tony Brent who wins the AFSP charity event here at Michigan.
That was one heck of a finish. Even though we didn't see the side-by-side being and banging action that we were expecting, that was still some very good stuff. And I'll tell you, if we had one more lap, I think Farmer would have been in a fantastic position, I would have to say, to take the win. Even though we were expecting him to fall off a little bit, that long run really wasn't there in that car of his. He still managed to put on a pretty good show towards a finish. And in that Camaro, he was very close to taking a checkered flag, but it just wasn't close enough coming onto that start-finish straightaway for that final time.
Ed Morris will come home in third as Tony Brent will make his way out towards the start-finish line. I'm sure getting ready to burn it down as there he goes. Car number 28 takes the win here tonight. And what a race he had, battling up towards the front all race long. Qualified second, fell as far back as about 12th. Marched his way back up through the field, and boy did he prove on that long run that he had a car that could win and got the job done here this evening. As we wait for the top 2 drivers to come in here for interviews, Ron, boy, what a night of racing we saw here, and again, very thankful to Apex Racing TV for allowing me to come in and share this night. It was absolutely incredible.
Well, it's been a great night of racing action, and it was just a fantastic race and a fantastic way for it to end. You can see some double burnouts here with Brent and Loveless here on the start-finish straightaway, burning the heck out of those rear tires. But Tony Brent, that was a somewhat of a shock win. I mean, he started on the front row, but as you said, he had a very up and down race here in the Irish Hills, but he managed to put together a pretty good race there, and of course took the checkered flag, so I'm sure he is not very upset with that result in the world. And speaking of results, by the time the checkered flag comes out here with tonight's race, we have raised $1,300 for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. That's some awesome stuff. As I said earlier on in this broadcast, it is wonderful to see sim racers of all kind really unite to raise money for a very good cause and also put on a great show as well. That was an awesome night of action, and I think we have a little bit more to cover here before we wrap this up.
Absolutely. I believe Tony Brent is here and ready to go. So Ron, I believe we're going to throw it back to you here as Tony Brent. Ron, you are with our race winner.
Tony Brent, thank you so much for joining us here in the commentary booth. That was a heck of a drive, very up and down race for you. How was it out there?
It was a little bit wild with the runs you get in this draft, and kind of was just comfortable hanging around between the 4th and 6th there for a while and seeing how it was gonna play out, and got a couple moves to go our way to where they got racing there at the end, and I think started burning their stuff up a little bit and brought us back into play.
Well, from my perspective, it looked like the drivers that we saw running up towards the front, mainly Pierce and Farmer, just didn't have the car in the long run. So throughout practice, did you feel that your car was more of a long run car or a short run car? Because from our perspective, it looked like a damn fast car in the short run.
Yeah, I guess it's really just how you manage tires and how you run. There was a lot of guys that were willing to push it really hard early in the run. I kind of like to have something to work with in the back half of the run, so I was willing to give up some of those moves early to have something to work with later in the run.
Yeah, that was tire management was a massive role in this race, and one of the parts that plays with the tire management is choosing what line to run. So whether it be the bottom, the middle, or the top, what's your favorite area of the track to run on here tonight?
I kind of like the middle seam. There's just kind of like a natural rotation there that helps. But when you get running in a pack, it's nice to have that outside entry to defend your line, defend your entry a little bit. It's hard to run on the inside guys getting the run down the straightaway. So just kind of have to vary it based on the situation. But if I had my choice, kind of that middle, get your left side tires on that first seam.
Honestly, I'm a little bit inclined to agree with you from my experience driving this combination. The middle line felt like it wasn't too loose, but it wasn't too tight like you're running on the top or the bottom. So thank you so much for joining us here, Tony. Anyone would like to give thanks to or shout out?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to all the guys over at Texas Speed, specifically Zach Lovelace ran this race with me. We worked together really well throughout that. So big shout out to him and all the guys over at Texas Speed.
I saw those nice dually burnouts that y'all had after the finish when y'all were celebrating. So nice little bit of teamwork there to burn those tires to the ground. So thank you so much for joining us here. Tony, Brent, congratulations, and have a great rest of your night. That was one heck of a race and a fantastic way to start off your evening, I feel.
Thank you. Thank you to you guys. Thanks to the group that put it on, Racing for a great cause, raise some money for charity. So that's what matters the most in this deal. So that was awesome. But huge thank you to everyone that put it on.
Thank you for putting on some good racing, and congratulations for the win here tonight. Tony, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you when you see you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
And that was Tony Brent, your winner here tonight. And I think we have our second place winner here, David Farmer, and I'll pass this off to you, Frank.
Yep, absolutely. Our second place finisher here tonight, David Farmer. David, you had the fastest car, you had the best car, you led the most laps. Unfortunately, you just could not get the win here tonight. What let you down in that final run?
Yeah, I mean, I knew there were a bunch of guys that were really fast, and trying to keep up with them. And there at the end, especially Roger Pierce, I was trying to keep up and stay in front of him, and I killed my tires pretty early on in that last run. And the guys behind us, I guess, were able to save and didn't race each other a bunch, just kind of waiting it out to see what happened. So then, once Roger finally fell off, I had to wait for the tires to come back, and by that time, Tony was out far enough that it didn't really matter. But I think if we'd had a couple more laps, we would have gave each other a good run for our money there.
You're probably not the best person to be asking this question, seeing as though you were out front by about 4 seconds all night. But how difficult was it once you got in that group to try to pass, with how slippery this racetrack was, with how much this car likes to push in when you're right up behind somebody? How difficult was it to pass there, especially on that final run?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the biggest thing is to make sure you get to the outside and get to their quarter before the corner exit. If you were able to do that, you were able to get around them, but otherwise it was pretty difficult.
Looking at this race as a whole, again, being for the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, overall a fantastic race for you. And really the entire group here. Anyone you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, definitely. Of course, this is a great cause and a great event. And I heard about it kind of last minute, about an hour and a half before it started, and I was like, yeah, that'd be fun. Let's go see what this is about. And I'm glad I did. But thank you guys for doing the broadcast. Thank the team that put it on. And then thank my pal Alex Healy. He was in the race with me. He was the one that let me know about what was going on. So. Appreciate everybody and having us out, and it was a fun night.
All right, your second place finisher tonight, David Farmer. Bud, congratulations.
Thanks.
And with that, Ron, I believe we have a prize to give away here tonight. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring DJ Fluke back in here. We heard from him earlier on in the evening as DJ. One heck of an event that was put on, and we saw some great racing here tonight. But before we get to the big prize, how was your race here this evening? We saw you towards the back, but I'm sure you guys were fighting all just the same back there.
Well, it definitely wasn't one of my best performances, that's for sure. But I got caught up in a wreck kind of midway through, which didn't help things either. But it was a good experience. I mean, I don't get a lot of chances to race against very, very high quality drivers like we had in the field tonight. So it was a good experience for sure.
All right. Well, now let's get down to the business at hand. We've been plugging it all night long. We've been teasing it all night long. I'm sure that somebody is very, very interested about a new piece of furniture that they might be getting.
Yes, indeed. I want to shout out to our good friends, Extreme Sim Racing. Not only they've been an amazing partner of both us and WJM, but they just make top-notch gear. And they're the US Sim Magic distributor. Also, great equipment. Love it. So I definitely want to shout out to them. Thank you very much to Extreme Sim Racing.
All right, and the winner of the contest drawing, or the grand prize giveaway, is that? I'm sure that was you that was giving that away, right?
Yep, I've got the wheel loaded up. I just have to press the Wheel of Fortune button here, and it's going to spin the wheel, and we'll have a winner.
All right, so why don't you go ahead and press the button that says press, sir.
All right, we are click to spin. So thank you all to everyone who donated tonight. The wheel is spinning.
I need a drum roll for this.
Drum roll.
Let's say this is great.
I don't know if that's being picked up on the microphone.
Congratulations, David Farmer. David Farmer is the winner of our AX80 Sim Rig frame.
Well, he may not have won the race, but he comes away with a $600 piece of furniture. One heck of a night. I'm sure this will soften the blow for one Mr. David Farmer.
I'd say that's walking away with a $600 piece of awesome equipment. That's a good night, no matter what you finish in the race.
Yeah, that'll certainly deaden the blow. DJ, thank you so much for helping put this right. Go ahead.
And thank you for having me in here and working with us on this project. And also, again, shout out to Kevin, who was race control tonight. He did a great job. And again, the guys from WJM, this project, when Eric and I at FR Racing tried to put this together, it was dead in the water. And Bill and Taka and TJ over at WJM, they helped resurrect this and make this thing happen. So I want to say thank you. And then the last thing I have is we have other raffles to give away. We're going to leave the fundraiser open through the weekend. And then on Monday, I'll meet with the guys and we'll start giving that away and contact the winners by email.
Well, there you go. So for those of you who donated, and there's a lot of money that was donated, $1,325 here tonight. Be sure to keep your email close to see if you won one of the fantastic prizes that are on offer here tonight. So, DJ, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful night. Thank you so much for having us here to broadcast it, and we wish you luck in whatever is next down the road, and hopefully we'll be broadcasting this event next year.
We'll be back. We'll be better than ever.
All right, there was DJ Fluke, and thank you all again so much for making one heck of a night. And Ron could not have asked for a better race, especially around Michigan here. It's one of those racetracks that it can become somewhat of a procession. It can be hard to pass. A lot of guys having problems, so it can become a caution fest as well. We saw a phenomenal race here from start to finish all night long. I could not be prouder just for the cause to be a part of this event, but also because of the race. What an event to be a part of. I'm very, very thankful I was here.
I am very, very thankful as well. This was a fantastic way to get my rookie stripes off with these oval broadcasts here, and that was a fantastic race to do it as well. Awesome from start to finish, and we've been seeing a lot more of these charity broadcasts as well. I was very fortunate enough earlier, actually it was later on, back in 2023, to be a part of the Drive for Wishes Make-A-Wish International Charity iRacing event here on iRacing. That was a actually no, I'm trying to think now. It was a 8-hour-long endurance race here on iRacing at Le Mans, and that was a fantastic race to be a part of. Raised quite a lot of money for a very good cause, Make-A-Wish, and we raised quite a lot of money for a fantastic cause here. Of course, we've mentioned it quite a lot during this broadcast already, but the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention really helps out people that are struggling and helps out people that are grieving loss. So it's a fantastic cause to raise money for. We've raised a heck of a lot of money so far already. $1,325 raised of that $2,500 goal. And again, as DJ said, that link that you see here in the description of the stream here on Apex Racing TV is going to be open for quite some time, so you'll be able to donate and raise a lot more money and get that closer to that $2,500 goal, which I think would be a great source of pride for all of us. As for the race itself, that was awesome. A fantastic battle here. Lots of comers and goers all throughout the race. And it's just part of the fantastic racing action that we have here on Apex Racing TV. So if you'd like to stay up to date of everything going on here on Apex, you can hit the subscribe bell, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, do all the stuff. If you've used YouTube for about 5 minutes, you know what to do. But as for this race, fantastic from start to finish. I had very high hopes, but those were exceeded with the racing action that we just saw here tonight.
It absolutely was. And once again, in the immediate aftermath of a loved one's suicide, it is challenging, confusing, and painful. The AFSP is here to help you get through the first few days with a better understanding of the things you are likely to face. You are not alone. Suicide affects millions each year, and thanks to their donors and volunteers, many of who are lost survivors themselves, can provide the resources to help you heal. Each spring, the AFSP chapters host a State Capitol Day event to bring advocates and state officials together to talk about how to prevent suicide and increase access to mental health care. For more information and to locate the dates in your state, visit afsp.org. Again, that website, afsp.org. So now let's start to put the finishing touches here on this race. Let's take a look at the final results here tonight. Tony Brent walks away with the race win. David Farmer, however, will walk away with the new $600 piece of kit. So not a bad day to lose by 7/100ths of a second. Ed Morris, Zach Lovelace, and David Duke round out the top 5. Roger Pierce, Alex Healy, Dalton Randolph, Justin Ackerman, and Jesse Fox comes home in a top 10 position. Benjamin Neller, Fernando Takahashi, Kyle Steinbacher, Mark Vicaris, and Charles Abert into the top 15. Nolan Gross, Brian McKinney, Bill Mulfield, Eric Richardson, Corey Buskirk, DJ Fluke, Colton Gardner, Sean McGaney, and Ambrose Niebel round out the field here this evening. So that will do it for us here on Apex Racing TV. For my broadcast partner, Ron Mons, and for our producer here this evening, Joshua Wilkie, I am Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for making us a part of your evening. We will see you next time right here on Apex Racing TV. Good night, everybody.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.